potentially in Wisconsin. What we can tell is police have responded. There are multiple injuries. And let me tell you something. It is early in a situation like that to say multiple injuries. In a shooting in a school in Wisconsin, Madison, Wisconsin. I guess it is a Christian school. I don't know if it's an elementary or junior high or high school or if it's one of those ones that's combined. But the amount of police action, the amount of people flying around there with paramedics, police, fire, you name it, is says that this thing is definitely something. And you know what's it's sad in the world that we live in is, and because I'll give you guys a snapshot into how I do my stuff. So my national show we do early in the morning. If something crazy happens after like today's show, like something crazy happens, I would have to update it throughout the show, and I go and do that. And there is a school of thought for many in this business. There's a number, right? It's unfortunate, but there's a number. If there's one person hurt or shot, you're not talking about it. If it is multiple and it is like you're talking about something like that. Hey, Ken, are you back with us?
I'm here, Brother Chad.
So tell me, what do we know so far about what's going on in Wisconsin?
I know what you guys know is police are saying multiple injuries. Wisconsin school shooting. This was the Abundant Life Christian School in Madison, Wisconsin.
Is it a high school, junior high? Do you know anything?
I do not know.
All right. Well, we're going to be finding out. But when you get on to, you know this, man, there is a sense of numbers, right? If it's 2 or 3 people that are hurt, one shot, maybe it's a story. If it's dozens, it sounds horrible. There's a body count in this world.
That's when you go wall to wall.
That's when you go wall to wall. So Ken's going to keep you updated throughout this, but there's definitely
major police presence.
Yeah, this is not
massive.
This looks very. I mean, the amount of people that are there, the amount of not just police. Now you're seeing guys roll up in the black SUVs.
Yes,
as the kids would say, murdered out, where you can't see inside of them. And they've got all the thing you can see is their lights are flashing. There are tons of multiple people, multiple children taken to the hospital. One suspect says the chief is down. That is all they know right now.
Yeah.
So we'll keep you abreast of this as we go on throughout the day. But obviously this is a developing story and will be developing here. But there are multiple children injured heading to the hospital. And one suspect is down. Now, whether he's dead or they've taken him down and arrested him, I don't know, and we'll find out. But multiple children injured in a shooting in Madison, Wisconsin at a Christian school. We move from there to the skies. No, I don't think it's aliens as much as I would like it to be, which is odd. I know. It is odd. But I will tell you this. I am not happy about the Pentagon, and if this is true, that they're not quite sure exactly what they're seeing. Because how are you going to track Santa Claus, NORAD, and everything else on Christmas Eve if you guys can't track these? Because who's more mystical and magical than Santa? Nobody, I say. Nobody. But that being said, I'm not saying there's not alien technology involved. Chris and I were talking about it. Some of the stuff that we're hearing about these drones, in particular on, I think it was Friday, I think it was a News Nation. They were just chatting about it. Because this guy who was one of the News Nation reporters says, look, I'm from here. I didn't think much of it. Then it started to get really weird. Then we saw it for ourselves. So he goes out on tour, out on a patrol, and they use one of the drones. And the drone pulls up to another drone that this thing is supposed to be. They can't see it on their radar. They can't see any heat from it, and it makes no noise. That right there says that is technology that we do not possess. But as far as the lights, see, that's the thing right there. If it's got lights, an alien ship isn't going to have lights.
I don't know, any adversary that would actually use proper FAA lighting to display where they are. It would be way too easy to shoot them down. They're slow moving. They're big. So I definitely take adversary off the table right away.
So what would they be? That's the big thing. That's what he wants to know. Now, I've heard everything from LATS, which is this, basically it's a mapping out of stuff, including the fact that they may be mapping out homes and getting, a look into people's houses, if you will, through certain kind of visual, maybe seeing through walls. Who knows what it is, because they are talking about the fact that in wars in the future, it may be a situation where you're fighting house to house, like you're seeing throughout parts of the Middle East and Ukraine and stuff. Is this, I mean, there's all kinds of stuff out there, but the whole thought process that, oh my God, it is an alien or the second coming, right? That was the other one. I'm like, I don't think Jesus is going, hey guys, remember, put on your lights. Because the FAA is they're a stickler down there for that. I don't think it's any of those things, but it's fun to, fun to speculate.
Maybe they're trying to test them and try to stay under the radar by actually doing it properly according to the law. When we do all of our mission tests, we do them at nighttime. Almost all missions by the U.S. military at nighttime, and we try to make it so you can't find us, can't see us, can't detect us. So there's a lot of controversy on why they would an adversary would actually be doing it the way they're doing it.
And that's why. Now, some of the stuff is interesting to look at. Some of it is very unique in the way that it's coming off the ocean. There is, Operation Bluebeam. You're going to hear all of these things. There are so many things out there that you're going to hear. And that's also how the government loves it. Government loves the weirdness. Government loves the fact that you're talking about it, but you don't know what it is. Is it a threat? Isn't it a threat? I don't know if it's a threat, i.e. aliens, but I'm assuming it's not, because if it was a threat, what are they doing? They're not really doing anything, because if they can get here like that, they can destroy us whenever they want. It's not a big deal. So I don't think they're probing us to find out if we've got anything or we're going to do anything.
The Department of Homeland Security and the FBI are investigating these sightings, and they're working closely with state and local law enforcement to provide resources. We have no evidence at this time that the reported drone sightings pose a national security or a public safety threat. The United States Coast Guard is providing support to the state of New Jersey and has confirmed that there is no evidence of any foreign-based involvement from coastal vessels.
Because nobody has what we have. Nobody has the technology we have. Later on this week, I'm trying to get my buddy Mike Lyons on. He is, I think he was on Mandis' show a couple weeks. He and I have been doing this for 2 or 3 years together, since long before the invasion of Ukraine, which, by the way, he was absolutely right at. One of the things he'll tell you is no matter what you hear from people that, oh, China's this or China's that, or they've got this, nobody has what we have. And it's the stuff that people don't know we have that keeps them up at night. And that includes our access to drones, because that is the war that will be fought in the future. We're seeing it with Ukraine. And by the way, rudimentary stuff in Ukraine, they're ordering stuff online from Amazon, having it delivered, and just basically, oh boy, Mickey Mousing it, putting it together, sending it out, and then it is chasing down Russian soldiers and blowing them up. That is not sophistication the way we have it. And some of the stuff in DARPA, from the tiny itty-bitty drones to the AI drones they have, are incredible. And that's the stuff that we kind of know about. Just a smidge. Now, I had several of you over the weekend reach out to me. You guys have joined me on @Chad Benson Show on the Twitter and said, do you think it's alien? I said, here's the only alien thing I think it would be. The technology. Could it potentially, and I'm a big believer, by the way, that we're not alone. But that being said, could I see us using technology that we've gotten and putting it to use? Of course. Who wouldn't? Who wouldn't? Of course. And that's the whole thought of you don't hear it. You don't see it on the radar. It's a cloak, but and seeing it in the heat sense. There is no heat coming off these things. And I'm trying to remember his name. The guy that really broke out in talking about Area 51, who has been on everybody's show over the last umpteen years, has talked about one of the things that when he was at Area 51, that they had bits and pieces of machinery of that as they're trying to reverse engineer it. They weren't all together. So a group over here got up and you were never to know who they were. And you were working on something. But the thing that he worked on was what he was trying to figure out is this machine, like a mini engine that had no heat and made no noise. And what the hell is it? How does something have no heat, no noise? How does that work as a machine? Because your phone puts off heat, right? My little watch here, one of those, that puts off heat. How is there something like that? And people say, well, they've got stuff that deflects and they've got this, that, and the other. And nothing like this, though. And the noise, Virtually none. So could we, in theory, be using some of their stuff? Of course. But it's all for the benefit of us. What you probably have is a group, a Raytheon, one of these companies who's got the super secret group inside of it that is on a need-to-know basis. And the president, as we were talking about today, the CIA, who handles a lot of this stuff, their thing is it's a need-to-know. And you wanting to know as president is not enough for you to know. And so could we have stuff out there? It's possible. Or as Rosie O'Donnell puts it, just could be aliens. They could just be here.
Now, can we stop calling them drones? They're obviously UFOs, people. It's all over the world now. It's not just in a little thing in New Jersey. Just saw one from China today. It's all over the world. What do you think? That some country, Iran, has the capacity and the capability to monitor and fly these drones all over the world at the same time? Not trying to scare everybody, but they're here. They're here.
Who are they? Right? Who are you calling they, huh? Huh, Rosie? Who are you calling they?
And the powers that be don't want to acknowledge that because that leaves them with a higher authority. Nobody's going to care about Trump or Putin or all of the strong men in the world who are dictators and cruel and evil. No, they're not going to have the power that they had if this is true. The aliens are here, and they're obviously superior to us in many, many ways. Let's hope they don't want to just, blow us up.
Rosie right there. Let's hope that doesn't happen. Because at any given time, they could do that. By the way, I love our listeners. Bob Lazar, you guys are right. Bob Lazar. And that was the big thing he talked about. That thing that he said was the most fascinating is, trying to reverse engineer something that God only knows if indeed what he said was real, that they're so far ahead of us technology-wise that you're not even understanding what anything is. Even at the rudimentary level of some of these things, you might not have any idea. And that right there is scary. But it's awesome because obviously they're not interested in blowing us up yet because they would have if they wanted to. And they enjoy it. One thing government likes is the fact that nobody's paying attention to all the other things that are happening. My name's Chad Benson. I'm in for Matt Murphy, who just oddly enough walked by. Bell, what did he have to say to you? Why is he here so early?
He went to get meat.
Seems like a personal problem, but I'm
Roy's. He was going over to Roy's Butcher Shop in East Nashville to buy some prime rib, and Roy is I don't know if you've heard the story yet, but Roy's Butcher Shop is being accosted basically by a neighbor in East Nashville who is from California who is trying to sue him into oblivion because he smokes meat for people. He takes care of, that kind of processing for people. And this person has been habitually complaining about how she's a vegetarian and the meat smell is just offending her.
What an awful human being that is.
Yeah.
Roy, we're with you, brother. We're with you. If you want me to take care of my California brethren, my former state from many, many, many decades ago, you let me know. You let me know. I'm Chad Benson in for Matt. A lot of stuff still to get to. Obviously, I'm sure Ken's going to have as much update as he can, but there is a shooting, supposedly a mass shooting. We know it is several injuries in Wisconsin at a Christian school. We're going to be covering that, I'm sure, throughout the day. And God willing, it's more precaution and a few injuries than what might be, and especially goes back to Sandy Hook this time of year, which was just awful. We'll have that, a lot of other stuff to get to. It is Super Talk 99.7. Rough Greens, ruffgreens.com/Chad. Vitamins, minerals, probiotics, omega-3, 6, 9, all this incredible stuff. It is packed into an amazing supplement. You sprinkle on top of your dog's food. Now, we've got two dogs that I absolutely, they're my daughter's dog, Bowie. He's crazy. Red, a designer dog that my wife got. I don't know. I love them, though. Bowie and I are best pals. And it is hilarious to see how healthy they are, considering they eat kind of like junk at times. But it's because of Rough Greens. Man, this stuff's awesome. You sprinkle on top of their food. It is incredible. Top of that, they have Meow Greens now. And Meow Greens saved our biggest fat cat's life. It is incredible. He had horrible skin, allergies that we didn't know about. We started sprinkling on his food. He started eating it up. Lo and behold, off came the cone of shame. His fur grew back. His life is better. Try a Jumpstart trial bag for free. All they ask you to do is cover the cost of shipping. You go to roughgreens.com. Use my code Chad. That's roughgreens.com. Use code Chad. Roughgreens.com. Code Chad.
All right, we're going to tell you what we have learned about the mass shooting at the Christian school in Madison, Wisconsin. Multiple people rushed to the hospital. President-elect Trump holds a near hour-and-a-half news conference, his first since the election. We've got some audio from that coming up at 12:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
I will tell you that the police are giving an update now. Sean Barnes, S-H-O-N, Barnes, in Madison. We're going to find out more, but it sounds
make sure you say Madison, Wisconsin.
Wisconsin.
So people don't think it's here.
But there's definitely it's a fluid situation. But, man, I tell you what, I was listening to a couple, like, live local stuff real quick in between our commercials, and it was it's ugly, man. You know, you wonder, like, what makes somebody twist off? Like, how do you get to that point where you twist like that? And we're going to find out more. And like I said earlier, somebody said it was kind of, awful that you said there's a body count in these things. And I said, well, it sounds horrible, but it's true. 2 people get shot down the street that are adults. You don't think too much. 20 of them do, out of nowhere in a surprise. It changes everything. Right? Even in this situation, 13 people get shot at a house party in Chicago. You know what? It's a house party in Chicago. Maybe gang-related. People don't feel the same way as if 13 people get shot at a school. And it sounds like that's a harsh thing to say, but that's just the reality of the business itself. There is a saying in this business, and everybody knows it. Can you know it? If it bleeds, it leads. It's been around forever and a day. There was actually a station in San Diego years ago who tried to do good news only, and the numbers were...
Yeah. Yeah, that doesn't...
What did they do for the other 23 hours and 45 minutes of the day?
So, I mean, they reported the news, but they tried to lead and tried to have more good news and not negative.
Right.
And it's not, we doom scroll for a reason. You know, it's nasty, but true. We do. There's a reason when we're on the freeway, we turn our head, right? How many of you drive by? We're like, I've been sitting here for 30 minutes. I'm going to get my look, right? I mean, there's a reason we do that. There's a reason when how many of you who are scrolling, whether it's Reels or your TikTok or Instagram, that you come upon something and it says sensitive material, scroll by if you don't want to watch it, or touch here. How many of you go, I'm going to touch and see what it looks like now? Because now I'm even more curious. So multiple people suffering from gunshot wounds at school.
I got the latest.
Let's hear what it is.
3 dead, including the shooter, 7 hospitalized.
Okay. Do we know what the condition of the kids are? They're hospitalized?
Not yet.
Okay. So that's 3 dead, and who knows, what could happen from there. But, think about you're going to school today. You're a kid. You're getting excited. Santa Claus is coming, right? Like, this is great. It's Christmas time. And on top of Santa Claus coming, you're getting out of school, right? You don't got school coming. That's like the greatest thing ever. I mean, second only to what is everybody's. Nothing is better than at 2:00 on the last day of school when the bell rings. That's hard to recreate that. Like, oh my God, I don't have school for 3 months kind of thing or whatever. Mm. But today, you're just going to school and somebody shows up. And I know a staff member's been killed. That was one. But Ken's going to have the latest on this. But it's an ugly situation. And why, again, did somebody decide before Christmas or at any time to twist off like they do? And it is horrible that happens too frequently, where people who are unstable, who are angry, and who decided to take their hate out on the world by attacking people who probably did nothing. I don't think any kids at this middle school did anything to this person. But if you want to make a splash, this is what you do. It's horrible but true. My name's Chad Benson. I'm in for Matt Murphy. A lot of stuff to get to. Speaking of shootings, could the shooter in New York be declared crazy? That's right. They're going to go with that. The lady that is going to represent him is a big-time lawyer. And that is kind of her, I guess, play towards this situation is insanity. We're going to talk about that. Also, the way that people have cheered him on, but Saturday Night Live made fun of it, and the way that people are going after him in their celebration, which, again, is an odd thing in this weird world we live in. My name's Chad Benson. I'm in for Matt Murphy. This is Super Talk 99.7.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. We've got the full forecast in 5 minutes. And right now in Wisconsin, got a school shooting. And we have learned that 3 people died, including the gunman, who is a juvenile. This is the Abundant Life Christian School in Madison, Wisconsin. Here's Aaron Katursky.
A number of them transported to the hospital, so that tells us the injuries are serious enough to warrant treatment at a hospital. We were told there were some of the injured who were not transported, not clear because their injuries were not severe or if it means something worse. So we're still waiting to find out from police. But when I talked to them a little while ago, they said they were asking people to avoid the area as they work to clear the building room by room. Police working hand in hand with EMTs to do that.
Yeah, so again, police say 3 dead, including the gunman who was a juvenile. 7 people injured, and some of those rushed to the hospital. 7, actually, are hospitalized. No word on their condition. Abundant Life Christian School's website there in Madison calls itself non-denominational, with about 390 students from kindergarten through high school. 36 days until President-elect Trump's second term, and he told his first news conference since the election today.
It's the golden age of America, and that's what it's going to be.
Trump promising to cut taxes on families and corporations, telling reporters he'll reduce the corporate tax rate to 15% for companies that make products here in the U.S. As for Robert F. Kennedy Jr. heading up Health and Human Services, Trump says the government will not get rid of the polio vaccine.
I think he's going to be much less radical than you would think. I think he's got a very open mind, or I wouldn't have put him there. He's going to be very much less radical But there are problems. I mean, we don't do as well as a lot of other nations.
And here in Nashville, police working strong leads in last night's fatal shooting in Madison. 36-year-old Jerome Gordon found with a gunshot wound to his head near a backyard fence at a condemned home, reported to have homeless people living behind it. He was rushed to the hospital but died. Neighbors said they heard an argument before the gunshot. That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
So far, as we keep you guys abreast of what's going on in Wisconsin, 4 killed, shooter dead at a Wisconsin Christian school. It is K through 12. I heard the sheriff say that it was the shooter was a juvenile, but nobody fired at him. I have a feeling it was, by the sounds of it, suicide. So several others are in the hospital. Still no rhyme or reason And that'll come, I'm sure in the coming days. And as we all know here in Nashville, it doesn't mean because there's rhymes or reason or anything like that you're going to find out any of that stuff. If there's any kind of manifesto or anything, especially if it went against, something that people don't want you to hear or read about. Speaking of shootings, Mangione, remember him, that character? Well, guess what? Could be on his way in the next day or two to New York, but they're finding out more and more about him.
He's now charged with murder and other offenses. Sources said writings police seized from him suggest Mangione had been fixated on United Healthcare for months and gradually developed a plan to kill its chief executive. What do you do? One passage allegedly said, you whack the CEO at the annual parasitic bean counter convention. Detectives consider the writings a confession.
Yeah, I think so. On top of that, he has made a switch to a new lawyer who, by the way, I think is already said over the weekend on CNN, the evidence is overwhelming. From the DNA to all of the writings to him, the evidence is absolutely overwhelming. But what about insanity? That may be the only plea. And she is top dollar. We're not talking about, and if you are this, hey, God bless you. This is not person on a bus bench kind of lawyer. We're talking $900 an hour kind of lawyer. Her family's got that. But more information is coming out. Again, family, what'd you know?
Mangione was arrested in Altoona, Pennsylvania last week, 5 days after Thompson was gunned down. ABC News has learned Mangione's mom spoke with FBI agents and detectives from the NYPD the day before his arrest. She indicated surveillance photos being circulated at the time could be her son.
How hard is that, right? So you're sitting there and first of all, you've lost track of your kid. Your seemingly healthy 26-year-old kid who you've noticed starting to go down a rabbit hole, starting to struggle. You lose track of him. Now, all of a sudden, up pops this, look at here. Up pops, oh my God, that looks like him. Could it be? And you're making that phone call because you've been worried. You've made some other calls already, trying to talk to the police about the fact that you couldn't find him, and now that pops up. How absolutely gut-punched are you in that situation, thinking, oh, my God, that's my kid? And the only thing you're thinking is he's lost his mind to do something like that. But the way that he planned it, the more that they find out about the way that he planned it, 10 days he was there. This is like what you would think a real hitman would do, which this guy obviously wasn't. But it is terrifying to think that somebody who seemingly had it all, at what point did he snap? At what point did he decide that all of this stuff was too much and it was too evil and too bad? I'll tell you when. A lot of it probably happened in college. In college, where he's being told every day, white privilege, colonialism. You guys are colonizers. You've destroyed this planet, and go on and on and on and on. And healthcare is not only a right, it is an absolute must, and you must do everything. Capitalism is bad and evil, and this is what he's going through. And you're hearing it day in and day out. And then all of a sudden, somewhere along the line, you buy into it more and more. And the thought of my back hurt and I couldn't do this, there's too many videos out there now of him skateboarding and surfing and doing all these kind of things. I don't think anybody's buying any of that right now. So is the lunacy route the one he's going to take? We're going to find out. Speaking of finding out, they call him a loony. His name is RFK Jr. Bobby, to you and I think Bobby's got a shot. I do. I think Bobby has a shot at getting over the line. I think right now, if I was to look at any of Trump's people and say who would be in trouble the most, I think it might be Tulsi, because I don't think any of the Democrats really like her, and I'm not quite sure how the Republicans feel about her. And I think people are looking at that job and thinking, maybe not. But that's out of everybody. I think Bobby's going to get him over the line. I absolutely do.
President-elect Trump defends his choice to lead the federal health agencies, saying Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is much less radical than his critics may think.
I found him to be very rational. No, nothing. You're not going to lose the the polio vaccine. That's not going to happen.
But when asked at a Mar-a-Lago news conference if he supports schools continuing to require vaccines, Trump said he doesn't like mandates, and he pointed to increasing autism rates in the U.S.
There's something wrong, and we're going to find out about it.
The medical community insists there is no link between vaccines and autism. Stephen.
Now, how much is that true? Well, I mean, of course they're going to say that. But I will say, like I said earlier, I'm fine with vaccines. Do we need this many vaccines? I'm fine with getting vaccines for your kids, but how about spacing them out? Why is it when I was a kid growing up, and Belle, you and I are about the same age, you got vaccines. It's 50 vaccines by the time you're 18 now, man. 50. You and I did okay. We survived.
And I don't recall anything of that. That just sounds like such an outrageous number to me. I remember getting polio vaccine.
Yeah.
And half a dozen others over the course of my childhood, but not 50 by the time I was, what is it now, 10?
Yeah, it's some outrageous number. And you're like, well, what do we, because now anything that prevent, from HPV to anything they can give you, they're going to give you. And I'm sitting there asking myself, well, wait a minute, why do we need this? And if you go back and look at the autism numbers, and I'm not saying autism comes from this, but if you go and look at the autism numbers, back in the day, it was like, 1 in 110? Now it's like 1 in 22 in parts of California. It is crazy when we're talking about these numbers. And shouldn't we be curious about what we're giving our kids? I think it's absolutely something we should be curious about. Doesn't mean we don't stop it. I mean, we don't need measles, and we don't need rubella, and we don't need polio. We don't need any of these things to come out. We don't need that. But do we need every single thing, and is there a better way to space them out?
I think everything should be looked at, but I'm a big believer in the polio vaccine, the Salk vaccine.
Do you think schools should mandate vaccines? Do you think schools should mandate vaccines?
I don't like mandates. I'm not a big mandate person.
He's not a big mandate person. He'll tell you that, right? No mandates. Trump earlier, this was his first real press conference. It's been odd because Trump has been very quiet. He won and been fairly quiet, all things considered, when you think about what normally we get with Trump, which is a lot of Trump all over the place. But he won. Did the sit down with Kristen Welker, on Meet the Press and a couple of things. But this is his first real out there doing a press conference since he won to be number 47. He's president-elect now.
I think you're going to find that Bobby he's a very rational guy. I found him to be very rational. No, nothing, you're not going to lose the polio vaccine. That's not going to happen.
Which is a fair question. What are you worried about? See, that's when I hear the media, which is just a hot mess. When I hear them talk about stuff like this, I'm thinking to myself, well, what exactly are you, what's your worry? Well, they're going to get rid of it. They're not going to get rid of it. Is it fair to ask the question about it? Why aren't you curious? My question is, why aren't you curious what you're putting in your body? Why aren't you curious about what's in that shot? Why aren't you curious about all these things? Well, we've seen it through time. Okay, that's fine. But aren't you curious about the fact that everybody seems to be on some sort of spectrum nowadays? Kids have something from ADHD to on the spectrum of autism, Asperger's, and all these kinds. Shouldn't we be asking some serious questions? Is some of it the food? That's a possibility. I mean, so there's a lot there. But here's the thing. Somebody like Bernie said, I could support him. I think he'll get Democrat support. I think Marco will get Democrat support. Pete, maybe not, but I think he's got enough to get through because I don't think he's going to lose enough Republicans to really worry it. I think of all of them, Tulsi's the one that may have the biggest struggle. And that's an if. Again, if she makes it that far. But so far, I mean, it's an eclectic group. I mean, and if you go back in time and you look and go read about Lincoln's cabinet. Lincoln had a cabinet that was all over the place. People really didn't understand because he thought outside the box in such a way, even for the time, that he had people that you were like, these people don't seem to have anything in common with what you're all trying to do. But it was because to do the things he wanted to do, he had to be outside the box. He had to think about certain things. It's the same thing here. That's what you want. The status quo for the American people hasn't worked the way that people think they would like it to. And when you talk about somebody like Robert Kennedy, why he's such a controversial pick, well, after what took place during the pandemic, after the continual BS from one moment to another, you can't do this, and then 5 minutes later it's on their website, and then it's off the CDC website, and it's off this website. This is true, and then 2 minutes later, nope, that's not true. One person would say it, the next person come up to the microphone and contradict what that person said. People don't have a lot of trust. And I think with somebody like Bobby Kennedy, maybe you're going to get a little bit of trust. Junior here may add some stuff to it that is going to add a little bit more trust to the government as much as you're going to have, because you're always going to have those outliers who are never going to trust the government in any way, shape, or form. Okay. But that being said, questions that need to be asked. Same thing goes for what's going on in the FBI. Same thing that goes for what's happening at our Pentagon. And on and on and on. And thinking outside the box and putting people in positions of power that normally you think would not be there. It is important because not only do we not trust the people that work for these agencies, they're about protecting their own jobs. But the people that have to work underneath them, whether it's our soldiers or people out in the field, whatever it is, they're having trouble trusting what's going on. So when you look at somebody like Pete Hegseth, you're thinking about a guy who's been a soldier, a guy who knows what it's like in the field. He's more about them than the business and politics of what's actually happening at the Pentagon. And I think that's a big win right there. My name's Chad Benson. I'm in for Matt Murphy, new, improved. Bell and I were talking. So Bell, oddly enough, I think, well, the show, the Chad Benson show, kicks off on the 2nd. We are going to be basically full-time starting Wednesday. So that's an odd but
Do I
weird
need to
thing.
be here?
You don't. We're not asking for you to show up. There's no reason for you to be here. None whatsoever. We're keeping an eye on what is going on in Wisconsin. So far, the latest Wisconsin shooting at a Christian school, Abundant Life. It is in Madison, Wisconsin. 4 killed, shooter dead at Wisconsin school. I don't think the police shot him. By the sounds of it, I think it might have been suicide. We don't know. There are several people in the hospital. We don't know what their conditions are. This is a very fluid situation, but an ugly situation right before Christmas or any time at Abundant Life Christian School in Madison. So I'm sure Ken will have more on that. A bunch of stuff to get to as well. Reach out to us across all the social media here. You can follow me at Chad Benson Show, ChadBenson. This is Chad Benson in for Matt Murphy on Super Talk 99.7. So, Bulwark Capital. Right now, I want to talk to my buddy over there. Zach Abrams is his name, Chief Investment Officer, Bulwark Capital, and he wants to talk to you about what are you doing with your retirement? Measure twice, cut once in life. It is super important. Too often, people don't do that, right? They just go and they cut and boom. You get one retirement, make it right for you. Call Bulwark today, 866-779-RISK. Now, when you do, you're going to be able to talk to Zach. He is Chief Investment Officer, just everything there. He'll walk you through what's going on in your retirement account. It's called a second opinion, risk review. Are you risking too much for where you want to be? Are you in a position where maybe you're not putting enough out there in certain places to grow enough to get you where you want to go in your retirement? Simple and easy. They're not asking you to do anything other than sit down and talk. They'll go over your retirement and away you go. It's that simple. Risk management, number one strategy from Bulwark. Lower risk, lower cost, lower volatility. Call 866-779-RISK today. 866-779-RISK, or go to knowyourriskradio.com. That is KNOW, yourriskradio.com. Investment advisory services offered through Check Financial LLC and SEC registered investment advisor. Investments of all risks, not a guarantee. Past performance, not guarantee future results. Trek 24378.
All right, Madison, Wisconsin police say 4 dead, including the shooter, who they say was a student. Got a full report coming up at 1 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Notice all the iPhones displayed aren't attached to any security device. The phones just sit on a MagSafe charger, which means you can literally pick them up and examine them without any restrictions. And this doesn't just apply to iPhones, but to other things in the store like headphones. Like, I could totally just pretend these are mine and walk out, which is crazy. But you know what's even crazier? Even their most expensive devices like iPads and MacBook Pros are only connected to one thing, which is the charging cable. So you can literally just unplug the devices and pick them up as you please. The absence of security just goes to show how much trust and honesty is part of the Japanese culture and society.
No, it's not America. I will tell you. So this lady's in Japan. She's walking around like an Apple store. You could pick up any phone, walk around with it. Put the headphones on, walk around with it. The anything they have in there, you could do. Could you do that in any store here in America? Not too many, but I will tell you this. So Friday night we went out. We had some dinner. It was my stepdaughter's 14th birthday. And on the way back, there's this little itty-bitty, tiny, like old school hardware store. And it's closed. And in front, they've got stuff that they'll be selling tomorrow. Stuff that you could just walk up and pick up and walk away with. And nobody's doing it. You know why? Because people have respect and understand that's wrong. So do the Japanese. They trust you to be an adult. And so they're adults. But I mean, man, I tell you what. Has that hit you here yet? Do you guys have CVS's? Because I haven't been in the CVS or Walgreens where everything's locked up.
There's one over by where I live in Madison that all the goodies, the stuff that matters is locked up. Yeah.
It is crazy. I mean, and is it... because you got to wait around, right, for somebody who's making $10 an hour, doesn't want to serve you, to come over and open the door, right? The keymaster. It is frustrating, you know, and having been in California for as long as I was, and then in parts of Arizona, man, it's everything. It's Walmart. It's everything, Bell, that is locked up. I mean, everything that's worth a darn. And I don't get it. Does not
surprise me.
I don't get it. Like, because I see in California where, you know, you could still under $997 and not be charged. Is it that bad here in certain areas?
Well, I think CVS specifically has a corporate policy across the board now where no matter what state you're in, they're like, lock that up.
To make the other states not feel bad. See, but it just shows you, like in other cultures, we just don't do that. We don't steal. We don't. Like, that brings shame. Here, it doesn't. None of that brings shame, apparently. They'll film it as they do it. And I was surprised. I mean, we're sitting there at the light, and I'm looking over going, wow, check that out. Like, that's stuff, you know, if you want to pot plants, that's just pottery right there. That stuff, if you know, they've got like rakes and all that. It's just out there. And I was shocked because, and that's the scary thing, is that we're shocked like that in today's world that somebody would leave something like that out thinking, oh, somebody's going to come steal that thing, which is just awful. Awful indeed. My name is Chad Benson. I am in for Matt Murphy. Get ready for the big show that'll be kicking off on the 2nd. We got a lot of fun stuff. If you're new to and maybe haven't been watching this for a while, know that Matt will be going from 3 till 7. I'll be noon to 3. And, of course, Mandis and Chris will be here as always, same time, same bat channel. But we're going to have a lot of fun. Do things a little different. Right? Kind of hard charging. We talk about a lot of different stuff. I take a lot of texts. I try to get back to you if you text the program as much as I possibly can. I'd love to interact that way. You can do the same thing on the Twitter and the Instagram at Chad Benson Show because I enjoy that. And I just find it easier because we switch between so many different subjects and we try to roll. Coming up next hour, a lot of stuff to talk to more on the drones. Obviously, an update of what's taking place in Wisconsin. As of now, I believe there is 4 dead, and I think that counts the shooter, who, by all accounts, I think killed himself. Like everything I'm seeing, I don't see anything else where they said that he was taken out by police. But 3 others dead, horrible, and there are several in the hospital, and we don't know what any of their conditions are like. We'll talk about that, more on the drones, a bunch of other stuff. So don't go anywhere. Keep it right here. Chad Benson in for Matt Murphy right here on Super Talk 99.7.
1 o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. We've got the full forecast coming up in 5 minutes. 4 dead, including the shooter at a Christian school in Madison, Wisconsin today. 5 injured, rushed to hospitals. No word on their condition. Police Chief Sean Barnes says officers still working the scene.
We're still going through methodically clearing that school, clearing every vehicle, and making certain that there's no other threats to this community, which we believe there are none.
The shooter was a student at the school and was found dead by officers who entered the building, according to Chief Barnes. This happened at the Abundant Life Christian School in Madison, Wisconsin. Its website calls itself non-denominational, with about 390 students from kindergarten through high school. President-elect Trump's second term starts in 36 days. Today's he held his first news conference since the election. Trump was asked about critics who say RFK Jr. will try to get rid of the polio vaccine if confirmed as Health and Human Services Secretary.
I think everything should be looked at, but I'm a big believer in the polio vaccine, the Salk vaccine.
Do you think schools should mandate vaccines? Do you think schools should mandate vaccines?
I don't like mandates. I'm not a big mandate person.
Trump promised to cut taxes on families and reduce the corporate tax rate to 15% for companies. He says invest $1 billion and make products in the U.S. Here in Nashville, Metro Police say they're working to figure out the identity of a driver killed in a fiery crash last night. Police say a Chevy Silverado pickup traveling at a high rate of speed eastbound on Lebanon Pike wiped out on a curve, hit a utility pole and a tree, and then burst into flames. Another driver saw the crash, called 911. The fire department responded to put out the flames. Again, the person found dead inside. Police say they're working to identify that person and the cause of the crash. That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
It's a fluid situation. We're finding out more and more. It is a horrific situation in Wisconsin. So, Madison, Wisconsin, a shooter, juvenile, entered a Christian school. It's killed a few people. Earlier, the press conference was held by the police chief, Sean Barnes, and as the updates, Quinn, and again, these are all fluid. I don't know how many are dead. They're announcing something here. I'm hearing stuff that's different. I would assume on the ground, he's got a bit more of a handle on stuff, but it's a fluid situation.
So we did just get an update from our command post. 5 deceased at this time, 5 injured. So a total of 10. So a total of 10.
Again, this is a ever evolving situation. Just hearing that, what does that make you think? How does that make you feel? That we have to do a better job in our community on a Monday, right? So close to Christmas that we're updating victims. And so there's a lot of work that has to be done, and we're committed to doing that work. We just ask for your patience. I think the most important part is the reunification, again, that we spoke about, making sure that those persons who are in the schools, whether they're staff, students, or what have you, are reunified, and we have done that. Again, I want to say thank you to all our partners. Again, our friends are here from the ATF. They're going to help us. I heard the question about the gun. I don't know yet, which is why we have a great partnership with the ATF that will help us determine the origin of this gun and where it happened. So I'm going to leave it at that, and we will have another press conference. Stephanie has the location.
So that was Sean Barnes. He is the police chief there. 5 dead, 5 injured. The shooter, by the way, looks like he took his own life. And we don't know the motivation. These are all fluid situations, they like to say, because stuff's still happening. And there are 5 that are in the hospital. What condition are they in? Were they shot in serious condition? Were some of them running and fell and got injured that way? We don't know any of that. Are they adults? Are they kids? Again, we know none of those things at this moment in time. They're still trying to figure out exactly what took place and why. And those are going to take, days, I'm sure, to figure out. But so far, at least, according to them, 5 dead, 5 injured, and we'll know more coming up in a little bit. From there, we move to the skies. Oh, the skies. Aliens. No. But they're drones. Yeah. But they're unidentified. They are. Well, by the way, they're not too unidentified because everybody has a picture of them. Right? I mean, we kind of know what they are. Like if I see something, I'm like, I know what that is. That's a drone. What kind of drone? I don't know. Is it one of ours? It's not an adversary. I'm going to tell you that right now. It's not. It's not an adversary. It is not some China's some super sneaky thing. It's not Iran, which I'm baffled by. It is none of that. I think if we're to be honest with ourselves, while it is interesting, maybe unnerving in certain parts of the country, if you had it flying over your house all the time, you'd be a little unnerved. But for the most part, I think what we're finding is we've got some super sneaky technology that is pretty damn awesome, and we're maybe testing some of our stuff out and not alerting I want to say the powers that be that may be running some of these Air Force bases and some of these bases. They may know, but the ones below maybe don't have the idea of what's going on because it could be an exercise. Is it for control? It's for whatever. My thought is, because I'm a believer that there's something out there. If you're new to the show, I'm taking over for Matt starting on the 2nd. Matt will be taking over for Brian, who's, not riding off into the sunset, more meandering into the sunset, as somebody put last week. But it's probably more our stuff. Could there be some alien technology? It's a possibility. Because I'm a believer that we can't be the only ones out there. But to think that this is, oh my God, this is an alien invasion. Well, what are you waiting for at this point in time? Come on.
Started in your state by far, the disproportionate number of drones have been flying in and around your state. What have you heard from the president?
We've heard very little. Let's start with the fact. First, it was questions. then it was maybe it's comedy, and then all of a sudden it became serious, and now it's insanity. Yesterday, the new United States senator had to go out with local police to look for drones. Now, if United States Senator Andy Kim can't get any information, I'm pretty concerned about that.
Are you concerned because you don't know? That right there is a senator from New Jersey who's a little nervous about not being able to get information. Are you concerned because the information wasn't given to you? And look, I don't know how much they're giving any of the politicians. We've been talking about this since the show began. We talked about it last week, that the powers that be that run a lot of this stuff have basically made it known to the world that just because you want to know if there's life out there or aliens doesn't mean you're going to. Being curious isn't enough to know about life out there.
So I asked for a state of emergency to ground all the drones and asked the FAA to join our state of emergency, which I've asked Governor Murphy to enact, in order to ground any drone. I've gotten silence, and we met with the state police. The state police have no information. Can you imagine? The Department of Defense must have some serious secret if we can't get any information of car-sized drones flying over our military bases.
Well, because it would be a secret. Like the whole thing is a secret. And the secret's out that we have this stuff and this technology. What's the technology? Again, I have no idea what's on these things. I've heard everything. Somebody just said, the latest is there's a missing nuke, and they were hunting for the missing nuke. Which is, what's the best one you've heard, Bell? What's the best of all of the conspiracy theories that you have heard? What is the absolute best?
Well, I don't know about the best one, but that one's pretty interesting that it's a quote-unquote missing nuke, because the fact of the matter is we have missing nukes that are still left out there that we haven't bothered to collect.
Yeah. So, well, that would mean, though, if you're looking for it in that way, wouldn't that signal that you believe somebody has gotten a hold of it and wants to do something nefarious?
I don't know. That's a really good question, but this is a government operation, so somebody's going to screw up somewhere. Of course.
That's the beauty of the government. That's why people used to always say, we didn't land on the moon. I said, let me tell you how I know we landed on the moon. Because everybody ever worked on the project, nobody's ever said a thing. Inherently, human beings can't keep their mouths shut.
Eventually, they will crack.
Yeah. And nobody said a thing? Yeah, nice try. I don't know. I've heard a lot of stuff. Again, the UFO stuff is fantastic, and I'm a big believer there may be something out there. But the nuke thing is neat, right? That they're filming our homes, our backyards, because they're looking at what's going on in Ukraine. They're looking at what's going on in places like, throughout the Middle East, and they realize that the combat that may be coming could be home-to-home kind of battle, and they would like to get an understanding of what people's yards and stuff look like should that happen. I heard that one the other day, which was spectacular. Like there's a new battle coming. There's a ton of them out there. But sometimes just the answer that's the easiest is we're testing stuff out. With the likes of Raytheon or whoever else could be involved in any of these things, they've got all this super, super, super double, triple, quadruple secret stuff. And this is a great way to go and test it out. Gets people talking, and when they're talking, they're not really paying attention to what else is going on.
All right, so either they're withholding information, or worse yet, they don't know.
So a car-sized drone comes in over the ocean, and we don't hear from the military, from the Department of Defense, what that is. Now, we would believe as citizens that anything of that size would be noticed, and we would be advised what that is. So there must be a pretty big secret, because there has been top secret briefings. And every time someone comes out of the top secret briefing, we get the same answer. Well, we need more information, but apparently it's not a threat. Now, I don't know how they're determining that. The Defense Department must be speaking to someone, because they're surely not speaking to any of the residents in New Jersey.
No, because you're not on a need to know, Vinny. You're not on a need to know. I need to know what's going on in my neighborhood. I think I need to know. I need to know what's happening here. I saw something fly by my house the other day. I'm on a need to know, and I need to know right now what's the deal. Is this a real thing? I'm not even sure, right? You think it's real?
Leave the gun. Take the cannoli.
That's right. Don't come to my house again, huh, alien? I will get you. Don't you come to my house. I will come and get you. So the other thing is they've got lights, right? Yeah, if you got lights. Like, do you remember the movie Signs? I love that movie. The movie was great. In that movie, the ships arrive, but you don't know where they are. They're gone. They show you they're gone. And then the bird flies into it and falls down. They're there. That's what's going to happen if something happens. They're not showing up with FAA lights on because that's what they know our regulations are. That's not happening.
If anybody has a sighting, it's very easy to go marry that up against the information on these FAA recordings and say, hey, you saw this thing in the sky. Yep, we know at that time and location that it was this aircraft flying overhead. So there are ways to match those things up. I think clearly if you're having people operating drones where they're not turning on that transponder, then there's obviously some sort of clandestine intent from those operators.
Clandestine. And a lot of the stuff you've probably seen over the last, I'd say 4 or 5 days, are people that have their own drones who are flying stuff up to take a look around to see if they could see something because it's exciting and it's fun and you know, maybe I'm going to be the one that catches the alien. But this is just me. My assumption is the alien would be smarter than the dude with the drone. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I am. Maybe I'm just wrong, and the guy with the drone is so much more ahead of it. It's us doing things and practicing stuff against us because we have the best in radar, we have the best in all of this stuff, and if we can get by ours, how easy is it going to buy everybody else's? Knowing full well that AI and all of this stuff that is in front of us that is just otherworldly, that we don't even really imagine is going to do things that we have no idea what they're capable of on the defense side of stuff and the offensive side of stuff. We got to make sure we have control of it. Let's be real, as much as we can. The minute it can really start to learn from itself is terrifying. Was it Steve Schmidt talk about that this weekend as one of the heads of AI, said that that's the worry that these things are going to learn on their own in such a way that they will become Starnet, maybe? I don't know. Skynet, whatever it was. Oh, my goodness me. Go read about Willow. If you have no idea what Willow is. Willow, last week they announced, I think it was Google, that this is a super chip. And the chip was able to do something in 5 minutes that would have taken supercomputers septillion. So that's 24 zeros after a number. It would have took them that long to come up with the answer. And it took this thing 5 minutes. Isn't it odd that we have a jump in technology from there to there? Isn't that kind of a strange thing? That we're like, okay, we're at supercomputers, but you guys have a chip now that blows away these supercomputers. Like, and to give you an idea of just like, to imagine being able to download everything Netflix has ever done in a millisecond. That's the kind of power this thing has, and it not even blink. That's how crazy the technology is. But it's jumped from that supercomputer era already to this thing. So we got lots of stuff out there. Lots of stuff. My name's Chad Benson. I'm in for Matt Murphy starting the 2nd of January in the year of the Lord 2025. It'll be the Chad Benson Show, and Matt will be here from 3 till 7 daily. I saw him walking around earlier. Apparently he's going to get meat over at Roy's.
You can never have enough meat.
You can never have enough meat. He's absolutely right about that. But he will be here at 3 o'clock today to bring you the latest on what's going on. We got the latest on what's happening in Wisconsin. Again, a shooting there and a horrible situation at a K through 12 school, a Christian school. And so far, what we are reporting is 5 dead, 5 injured. And that was according to their police chief, but I'm seeing it elsewhere that it is different. But again, fluid situations and a horrible situation indeed. A lot of stuff still to get to. It is Chad Benson in for Matt Murphy, Super Talk 99.7. Raycon, best earbuds around. I wear my Raycons every single day. The earbuds of earbuds. They're called the everyday earbuds, and they're used every day. So let me give you a little snapshot. First of all, 8 hours talk time, 32 hours battery life. I do a ton of editing. My home studio, I am always going. It's multi-connectivity, so I can connect to my phone. I can connect to a computer. I can do all these things. It is absolutely imperative that I have that multi-connectivity, but it also has noise cancellation. And active noise cancellation at this price is just unheard of. Top of that, it's got fast charging. It's weather and sweat resistant. It's got several different sound modes, from awareness mode to isolation mode. It is truly incredible. If you want the best earbuds around, price that won't break the bank, and get it there before Christmas with a 30-day happiness guarantee. That means if you're not happy, send it back within 30 days. Money back. No questions asked. Go to buyraycon.com/Chad today. That's buyraycon.com/Chad. Save 25% site-wide on the best sound around. Buyraycon.com/Chad.
Okay, so the death toll keeps changing. Police now say 3 dead, including the shooter there in Madison, Wisconsin. We'll have the very latest from that unfortunate incident. Also, President-elect Trump's second term starts in 36 days. Today, he held his first news conference since the election. We'll run you some audio from that coming up at 1:30. A Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
So Trump filed a defamation suit. It was working its way through the courts. ABC was unable to get it thrown out initially. And actually, in the next few days, Trump was set to be deposed in the case. But ABC is avoiding going any further by settling. They're paying out $15 million plus $1 million in attorney's fees. They say this is going to go to a nonprofit, basically to Trump's future library. That's the idea. But maybe most importantly, Jessica, ABC is also apologizing, issuing a statement of regret.
Oh, they had to pay Trump $15 million. For what? So George Stephanopoulos said he was found liable for rape. So he was found. So this is civil. This is all civil, that he had raped a woman. Well, in New York, they have specific language, and sexual assault or abuse is different than rape. And because of that, they really wouldn't retract anything. And they just said, oh, it's all one and the same. Well, it wasn't one and the same, and it worked its way through. And now you're in a situation where you have to pay. So they're paying, I guess, $15 million, and Stephanopoulos is actually paying $1 million himself and having to apologize to, which just has to drive everybody crazy, to Trump himself over that. Now, that doesn't mean that he isn't guilty of something. That's what, again, that was that civil trial with that lady who is kind of a wackadoo. I mean, it's kind of a can I use kind of a wackadoo? Am I going to get sued for that? She is kind of a wackadoo. So she won, and they just, went out and said, hey, he's guilty of rape. And that's not what happened. So they had to pay. They settled up. They got to realize that, look, if this thing gets to a point where if we can't get it thrown out, we're going to have to settle. And they couldn't get it thrown. They have to settle. Away it goes. It's a win for Trump. And Trump is, out there doing his first press conference today, talking about all of the stuff that he hopes to do and really pushing for the likes of Kennedy and Pete Hegseth. And we're not too far away, almost a month away from January 20th. And it's funny to watch the media. We're going to talk about that. They don't know what to do. They don't. They ran up against something that was a buzzsaw. And it wasn't just Trump that won. It was a whole changing landscape that they're having to come to realization of, that times have changed. And it's interesting to watch the way that this thing's playing itself out, whether it's, Van Jones and several other people out there who are trying to come to grips with the fact that this guy is something else, but he went to places that nobody else would go to, and he gave legitimacy to places that would seem to be fun on one hand before Trump, but not legitimate according to the establishment media. And now they are legitimate, at least in a lot of people's eyes. And they don't know what to do with that. A lot of you are chiming in on what you think the conspiracy of the drones is. The nuclear one is getting a little bit of push, right? Like that's a good one. I'm still trying to figure out, do they think it's because I've seen a few stories, but nobody says if it's one of ours that's lost or if somebody got in a dirty bomb, which is terrifying because some of the stuff that you're hearing from other places, that Al-Qaeda's got a lot of fighters here, that Al-Qaeda has would like to do a October 7th-like attack on us in Europe, France really in particular, and us, and what that would look like. And could they have gotten something in here? I don't think so, not in that capacity, but you never know, because if they are putting it together here, well, that's a different story. And what would that look like? There's a question that really has never been, that I think I hope, well, again, it depends, right, on who's the president. Because if there was a massive 9/11 style attack or a October 7th attack on U.S. soil, Biden's going to be much different than Trump. Because I don't think Trump's sending soldiers, but I wouldn't be surprised if he sent something else, if that makes sense. My name's Chad Benson. I am in for Matt, who will be here in a little while after he gets all of his meat that he's, gathering together, which is fantastic. A lot of stuff still to get to. We're going to talk about, yes, the crazy world of the media, but also more on the drone stuff, because some of you guys are sending me fantastic things that you think the drones are. And we do love a conspiracy in this country. I don't know any other country that eats up conspiracy theories like we do. I don't know if there is one. So we'll talk a lot about that as well, and an update on what's going on in Wisconsin. Again, the numbers vary depending on where you're watching, what you're reading. But there have been some people killed at a school in Wisconsin. It's a K through 12 school. It's a Christian school, private school, and the shooter is dead. But there are plenty injured as well. So we'll have the latest on that right here on Super Talk 99.7.
1:30 on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast coming up in 5 minutes. And we're covering the latest in Madison, Wisconsin, where the number of dead from a school shooting, according to police now, is 2, plus the shooter, said to be a student at the school. Initially, police said there were more dead. Here's Alex Stone.
It was just before 11 a.m. in Madison when shots were fired at Abundant Life Christian School. When police arrived, Chief Sean Barnes says a shooter, who was a juvenile, was dead.
What is a sad day for our community and for our country.
Investigators say they aren't yet clear on what led up to the shooting, but police say there is no ongoing threat to the community.
Abundant Life Christian School's website calls itself non-denominational with about 390 students from K through high school. President-elect Trump's second term starts in 36 days. Today, he held his first news conference since the election, and he took a number of questions from reporters, including questions about his wish for Robert F. Kennedy Jr. to be Secretary of Health and Human Services.
Do you want RFK Jr. to revoke any vaccines?
No, I want him to come back with a report as to what he thinks. We're going to find out a lot.
Trump says that includes how to get rid of who he calls the middleman, whom he says is getting rich while driving up costs of prescription drugs. And here in Nashville, police are working strong leads in last night's fatal shooting in Madison. 36-year-old Jerome Gordon found with a gunshot wound to his head. He was near a backyard fence at a condemned home that is reported to have homeless people living behind it. They rushed him to the hospital, but he died anyway. Neighbors said they heard an argument before the gunshot. That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
So Trump changed so much, and we've known that for a long time. And he's just different. He's built different. That's why when I see people out there who try to be like Trump, they are a cheap version of him. You got to do your own thing. Like, I don't envy anybody who's coming in after Trump. I know a lot of people think J.D. Vance is going to be it, and maybe he is, maybe he isn't. I mean, a lot can happen. We all know 4 years is a long time before the next election. Well, in theory it is. I mean, they're going to start running in an hour. But that being said, Trump changed a lot. And listening to the traditional media types talk about how much Trump has shifted the way that even the media deals with itself is tremendous.
How the hell did Donald Trump figure out the mainstream media is the fringe and the fringe is now the mainstream? I mean, Joe Rogan is obvious, right? Like, we knew the guy had a big audience, but like, how the hell was he, the 78-year-old guy who doesn't even have a computer and still like writes handwritten notes? How did he become the guy who cracked the code on, to your point, running a cultural...
It was a movement. Look,
heading a cultural movement versus a campaign.
Every one of your people knows Elon.
It's a movement. But I'll tell you how he did it. Trump reminds me a bit of Wayne Gretzky. Wayne Gretzky's the greatest hockey player of all time. We have hockey here in Nashville. You guys should probably know that. Wayne used to say all the time, when they asked him how he scored so many goals and what he did, he said, I didn't go where the puck was. I went to where it was going. And that's what Trump did. The shift happened. Trump went to where it was going. He was fishing where there were fish, where the establishment media wasn't doing that. They were staying exactly the same. If you were not adapting, you were dying. If you were not changing the way you're doing things, you were dying. That's Van Jones and Chris Cillizza, who is, Chris, by the way, has left the mainstream media, if you will, and he's doing stuff online, and that's where he is. Because you're able to bring and deliver things that the mainstream media at times just can't, because there's time constraints and things of that nature, and, language constraints, and there's all kinds of things. It's never been a better time in history when it comes to what we have in front of us media-wise. You guys can listen to us. You guys can go online. You watch us there. You can go there are so many ways to consume media. And there's so many places to get what you want. Now, sometimes that's bad because I'm a person that's about, let's give me information, not affirmation. I think we have too much of that. People want to be affirmed in their beliefs. They don't want to be challenged in their beliefs, which I don't think is a good thing. But it's also where people are. He went to where they were going and where they are. They stayed saying, you need to come back to us.
You have a framework in your mind that, how can Donald Trump? Guys, can we cut it out? Donald Trump is not an idiot. He has the White House, the Senate, the House.
Totally agree.
The popular vote. He has a massive media ecosystem bigger than the mainstream built around him and for him, and a religious fervor and a political movement around him. A phenomenon. He is the most powerful human on earth and in our lifetime. And we're still saying, well, how was this? We look like idiots.
You're totally right.
Yeah, totally right. Van Jones, like, you're right. You're right. That's what, he's that powerful. And it's not just, by the way, the entertainment media is having the same battle right now that the news media is. Because you see, in the entertainment media, you don't need a big record company to come to you. Why? Well, I've got 5 million followers. You need me more than I need you. I can create songs out of my house. They're as good as anything we're going to get inside of your studio. And they're going to be my songs controlled by me. Same thing goes for television and movie. You can do things now that were unheard of a couple years ago. And still, you're finding now that this is the way that things are done now. And that's what the establishment media is having troubles with. Leslie Stahl the other day talking about the fact that she's having a tough time coming to grips with the fact that the president's like, yeah, we don't need you.
Seriously, I worry greatly, and I think there are other institutions that have been suffering. And you're right not to blame Donald Trump 100%, obviously, started many years before. But we're at a point where if the president of the United States is going to say legacy media is dead, well, I guess legacy media is dead.
And he wants it dead. He wants other media.
But it is kind of hobbling right now. And I don't know how it recovers. I'm very dark about it.
Well, you should be. But you also drove it to this. You guys didn't want to adapt. You were the only game in town. And now you're, rather than adapting, figuring out how you can bring people on your shows that are, quote unquote, the alternative media and giving them a voice on your show, having almost a cross promotion, right? Symbiotic kind of relationship where maybe some of their followers would go and check out some of your stuff. Instead of doing that, you're pushing against them. And it is, you're fooling yourself. You are. You better figure it out. Or you're going to be, there's going to be nothing about anything you do that anybody's paying attention to. Fox still has something, but Fox has also got their people doing stuff online. Whether it's Jimmy Fallon, whether it's Jimmy Fallon, whether it is Kennedy, Cat Shrimp, any of these people, they're going and doing things where the media's at, and they're not afraid to do that. And they're not just doing, that's the other thing. They're not just going online and saying, hey, this is the same thing I'd say on MSNBC or Fox or CNN. They're doing stuff where they're bringing people in, they're incorporating, they're having fun, they're doing. That's part of it. It's about being a regular person on top of all of that. But when you've got a group of people who feel like they're better, who feel like they know better, who have an elitist feel to them, this is what you get. And that's why. You're not adapting, so you're dying. And if you continue to do this, not only are you going to not be around, like Leslie Stahl, you're what, 75? You got nothing to worry about. You've already been there. You've been through the heyday. But for the others, it's going to get ugly before it gets better, and it may not get better at all. Speaking of Trump, there is the Doge. If you guys don't know what the Doge is, this is a very exciting thing that isn't going to go the way that people think. Mick Mulvaney was on with Piers Morgan the other day, and he is echoing the same thing that I've been echoing. The excitement of the Doge and the exposing of the insanity is real. But the chance of actually doing what they would like to do is slim to none.
What Vivek and Elon are doing it's a giant, massive PR campaign, but it's an absolutely critical PR campaign. They have to make it so that Congress doesn't have any choice but to change the rules.
Because public opinion will be so heavily on their side.
And that right there, Congress changing the rules. Now, I want you to listen to him talk about the fact that he used to run an agency. And wait till you hear how many people he could get rid of when we talk about eliminating jobs and waste.
I've heard he's going to do what he did at his other companies and just call everybody in and say, what did you do last week?
Yeah, but he can't, and that's the difficulty.
Why?
I ran a federal agency. I ran the CFPB, which was one of the places they want to shut down. I wanted to shut it down, and I found out after I got there, of the 1,700 people who worked there, I only had the right to fire 7.
Really?
By law.
Does the president have the right?
So the president might have the right to close the building. He doesn't have the right to fire the people.
Who does?
Nobody.
Are you serious?
Congress would have to change the law.
Wow.
Yes.
Listen to that again. 7 people. So you had 1,700 people. You can fire 7. The look on Bell's face was like, wait, what? 7.
That's just beyond ridiculous.
Because they've crafted it. They're the number one lobbyist of themselves. Think about that. Government is the biggest lobbyer of government. They lobby themselves. So what do you think they're going to do? They're going to make it so they're protected from top to bottom, that they can't get fired, that eliminating what they do is virtually impossible. You can eliminate the program before you can eliminate the workers. Think about that. You could get rid of feeding the hungry before you got rid of people over here who are working to, quote unquote, feed the hungry. That is the frustration. So what they need to do, the most important thing is you can cut where you think you can cut. You can streamline some of it, because one of the things that we're going to find out about that is, I think, is going to be shocking. They are still using computers that are decades old. Still using things that are so obsolete that if they broke, they wouldn't even know what to do with them. That's how bad they are when it comes to modern technology, because changing over in their minds would be too costly, it would take too much. So let's just go until we can't go anymore. That's some of the stuff that they're going to be able to do. But as far as getting rid of some of the fat, you got to change the law.
It's a great example. I can't remember which agency it was, but it's one of the big named agencies. Just yesterday, the outgoing administration signed a new labor agreement saying that people don't have to come to work after Donald Trump takes over. And that's now in their union agreement.
Incredible.
Please allow that to sink in. If you're a federal worker, you have federal protections against getting fired. And on top of that, you have union agreements that make it even more difficult. So
ridiculous.
That's what Elon and Vivek are up against.
And they're going to be up against the mighty, huge bureaucracy. And I think the best that they're going to be able to do is cut somewhere it's necessary, but actually expose the insanity of bureaucracy, expose the fact that these administrations for years and years have known how bad these things are run, how these agencies at times overlap, how we have way too many people doing one thing over here that is obsolete, that is not necessary. I mean, it goes back to like even the, how many tanks are we buying that we would never use? But we signed these fat deals for all these people to produce stuff that we're never going to use anymore because they're obsolete. Too many. We have too much of that stuff that waste money, but it's jobs. So if you're a congressman, even if you're a Republican, in your district, if you have 5,000 jobs that are tied to that, it's going to be tough for you to want to switch over really fast and go, I don't know if I want to get rid of this, because those are voters. And people are going to come out and say, you're getting rid of jobs and you're killing this area and you're destroying the city or you're destroying this area. That's a tough thing to do. That is a tough thing to do. So exposing the BS, where can they cut? But I think the most important thing is allowing people to really get an absolute picture, a snapshot, just a true look into how much bureaucracy is there. How much of that is absolutely a waste of money. How much of that is stuff that you and I would be laughing at because it's so antiquated, but they're afraid to make a change because it would cost too much or whatever. We'll see. Good luck to you. Godspeed, boys. Godspeed. A lot of stuff still to get to. By the way, somebody's actually come out and said, I had nothing to do with Puffy. I have a feeling we're going to get more of those. We'll talk a little bit about that. Plus, get an update of what's happened in Wisconsin. Again, a shooting at a Christian school. It's a K-12 school. The juvenile was said to be, believed to be the shooter, is dead. There are some people that are dead. Lots of information that's all over the place. We'll have the latest on that as well. My name's Chad Benson. I'm in for Matt Murphy, who will be here in a little while, in for Brian. And then again, starting the 2nd of January, it is me from noon to 3, Matt 3 to 7 on Super Talk 99.7. All right, Omaha Steaks. Right now, go to omahasteaks.com. And when you do, and that's OMAHA steaks.com, and use my code Benson, you can check out all the great deals they have. It's 50% off right now. Still in time to get there for the holidays. We're talking about tons of amazing deals, the best steaks around. Guaranteed. 5 generations of expertise. And we're talking about delivered to you starting under $100. And you're going to save $30 at checkout. And they've got everything from surf and turf to wine to, if you just want all pork chops, they've got it all. Gift packages designed for you and the ones you love. If you love steak, like I love steak. If you love pork chops, like I love pork chops. Frank's, burgers, and of course, fillets, butcher cuts, they've got it all. Build your own or grab one of the amazing gift packages they have right now at omahasteaks.com. It's 50% off site-wide. Use my code Benson and save $30 at checkout. omahasteaks.com, code Benson, omahasteaks.com, code Benson. Minimum purchase may apply.
All right, so the death toll numbers keep changing. We think we have it down now from police, 2 dead, actually 3 dead, including the shooter. And then we've got a handful of people who were injured. Either way, we've got a full report coming up. We're also going to let you hear some of President-elect Trump's first news conference since the election and what he plans to do day one, coming up at 2 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
I haven't addressed any of this publicly, but I just want to say this very clearly. I don't have to do with Puffy, so y'all can stop all their meetings. Listen, I do enough of my own. Don't be putting me in other people's. I ain't been nowhere near that man. I ain't did none of that stupid. So whenever y'all hear it, if somebody say that, it's a damn lie. I don't even like baby oil.
That right there is Will Smith talking about Puffy, saying, I have nothing to do with that guy. I didn't, outside of posing for a picture here and there, I had nothing to do with him. Didn't go to his parties, not around him.
No, but I haven't said that publicly. I just said, y'all the first time. It's like, people, it's so many things, people say so much stuff, but the world we're in right now, it's really hard for y'all to like discern what's real and what's true. And I've been seeing y'all memes and stuff. People be making memes.
Well, I hear that Puffy's people are shopping around videos to high-powered stars who are in very awkward positions, some maybe not illegal, but some, if you will, in positions that would hurt their fandom.
I just want to see Will come out and go, hey, I didn't have anything to do with Puffy. My crimes all involve assault and battery on an international stage.
And poor Chris Rock. It's just so, oh my God. Can we just all go back there for a second? He slapped a man, assaulted him on live television, stayed there, then won an award. So I want everybody to get that. He did that. You know, I was thinking the other day about Puffy. There are people now going, well, you know, Kanye's not that bad. Like, Kanye's a little bit crazy. We get that. He's a lot of bit crazy. But we also know what Kanye likes. Oh, my God. What a crazy world. It really is. It is an awfully crazy world. Several of you have chimed in about Trump and, you know, the whole Doge thing, saying, well, Trump can just, if he can't fire these people, he can cut their money off. Can't cut their money off. You can cut the money off of the program, but you can't fire them. That's the problem. That is the problem. You can't get rid of these programs the way that you might want to do that. So, which is, if they're overlapping agencies, and there's plenty of those, and all of a sudden, and here's the thing about agencies that they've talked about, same thing with programs, is they never sunset. They never go away, ever. Once they're entrenched, they've got their roots, they're never going anywhere because they're going to fight to keep their jobs. So firing people is virtually impossible. Now, you can get rid of some contractors, but they're just going to get more. So, but the ones that people are talking about here, the bureaucracy of these agencies that have 1,700 people that may only need 400, you're not getting rid of them because they're protected by law. And the agencies and the unions have come together and they've worked out deals where they're pretty much completely protected. And I've got some friends that work for agencies. You can close down their building, they're still getting paid. You can get rid of their programs, they're still getting paid. Because you can't just that's the frustration that they're going to find. And that's the thing that people have to do is we have to push to hold these agencies accountable and to change the laws that if your agency isn't producing things, if you aren't doing your job, then you should be fired. Not that you want people fired, not saying that. But you should have the right, if you are a failure at your job and you suck at it, and this agency here costs billions of dollars, never, ever shows anything worth a damn when it comes to what they're supposed to be doing, and no results, then, yeah, we should be able to get rid of them. Like we would in the private industry. My name's Chad Benson. I am in for Matt Murphy. He'll be here at 3 o'clock. This is Super Talk 99.7.
Two o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. We've got the full forecast coming up in 5 minutes. Right now, a traffic problem. Road construction has the right lane closed in Rutherford County. And guess which interstate? 24 westbound, right there before Church Street.
ABC News, I'm Michelle Franzen. This is a special report from ABC News. Wisconsin school shooting. Police in Madison still on scene at a Christian school where officers say a student went on a shooting rampage. The death toll revised as officers gather new information. At least 2 were dead, along with the gunman and several others injured. ABC's Alex Stone with more.
It was just before 11 a.m. in Madison when shots were fired at Abundant Life Christian School. When police arrived, Chief Sean Barnes says a shooter, who was a juvenile, was dead.
What is a sad day for our community and for our country.
Investigators say they aren't yet clear on what led up to the shooting, but police say there is no ongoing threat to the community. Alex Stone, ABC News.
Parents told to go to a nearby site near the school. Police and school officials working to reunite students with parents. The Wisconsin State Superintendent calling the shooting senseless and, quote, says it's time to change. It's long past.
Abundant Life Christian School's website calls itself non-denominational with about 390 students from kindergarten through high school. President-elect Trump's second term starts in 36 days. Today, he held his first news conference since the election, took a number of questions from reporters about a number of topics, including mystery drones.
The government knows what is happening. Look, our military knows where they took off from. If it's a garage, they can go right into that garage. They know where it came from and where it went. And for some reason, they don't want to comment.
Trump says he decided to cancel his trip to his home in Bedminster after drone sightings. And Trump said the government will not get rid of the polio vaccine if Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is confirmed as Health and Human Services Secretary.
What about the polio vaccine?
Well, I'm a big believer in it, and I think everything should be looked at, but I'm a big believer in the polio vaccine, the Salk vaccine.
Do you think schools should mandate vaccines?
I don't like mandates. I'm not a big mandate person. So
Trump says he had dinner with RFK Jr., CEOs of pharmaceutical companies over the weekend. He said the biggest part of that conversation was getting rid of whom he called so-called middlemen to bring down costs of prescriptions. Here in Middle Tennessee, 2 teenagers are dead, another injured after a crash in Clarksville.
Clarksville police say the crash happened early Sunday morning around 1:15 a.m. in the eastbound lanes of I-24 near mile marker 3. The teens were driving in a 2017 Buick LaCrosse. It ran off the road and overturned into the woods. The driver and passenger, Kevion Lane and Cottrell Godfrey, both of them 18 years old, were both killed. Another passenger who was 16 years old was injured. Police say none of them were wearing seatbelts. Joan Jones, WTN News.
Yeah, and here in Nashville, police working strong leads in last night's fatal shooting in Madison. They say 36-year-old Jerome Gordon found with a gunshot wound to his head near a backyard fence at a home reported to be condemned, but having homeless people living behind it. He was rushed to the hospital but died anyway. Neighbors said they heard an argument before the gunshot. That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Do a little dance there, having some fun.
Yeah, I didn't have the camera on until you started doing that. Then I made sure they got to see it.
I'm okay, man. I'm good with that. That's how I will. I'll dance all day. You know what I'm saying? Trying to, again, the numbers, Matt just came in here and we were talking because now it's down to 2 or 3. I said it's all over the place. It's a fluid situation. But we do know that there are 3 dead, if I'm correct, if we count the shooter. And it looks like it's a self-inflicted wound. And, of course, the questions are like, what happened? And over the next couple of days, as Matt and I were talking about, you're going to get, it's gun control. We need this, and it's another one of these. And it is mental health issues, absolutely. Anger issues, yes. Why did you twist off?
Typically, particularly younger shooters, it's sometimes based on bullying and, other maybe emotional or psychological issues, but they're revenge-driven.
What was the revenge? What happened? Was it a teacher? Was it a student? Was there a love quarrel? I mean, I don't know any of these things. Nobody does. And over the next couple of days, they're going to be trying to figure this out. And thank God it's not more. But 2 people who got up this morning, excited for Christmas break on the way, living their lives, who knows what else was going on, just ready to do their thing as they headed towards Christmas and the New Year, and they are not going home ever. And several other people probably won't be going home tonight, and who knows what the conditions are of some of them and what their ages are. And then a person killed himself. Why? It's always the question, right? Like, take the drones, for instance. What is it? It's the mystery. It's the unknown. It's always the unknown. Take, for instance, when somebody goes and shoots, loses their mind, shoots up a place, we want to know why. Because there's a certain portion of all of us in humanity is this a normal person? What caused them? And for some people out there could they be the ones who would one day, shape, or form twist off? It is a mystery. People want to know. The why is the biggest question. With the drones, what are they? Why are they here? Why now? It's the unknown. Why'd this kid twist off? The unknown. We want to know. The Vegas shooter. To this day, it haunts people because the mystery is, why did he do it? Everybody's got their theories. Some of them wackadoo. Some of them, probably closer to the truth. We'll never know because he took all of that with him on why he did that. But unknown stuff, I mean, what's the greatest unknown of all? What happens after we die? That is that unknown that everybody wonders, worries about. What happens after? It's the why. We don't know why this kid this. We don't know why today. We don't know what happened. What we do know is 3 dead. It started out as 3, then it went to 4, then it was 5, then it was back down to 2, now it's 3, and they're reporting a teacher and a student among those killed in the shooting. And again, why did he do it? Well, probably some sort of revenge. Was it bullying? Was it a love triangle? Did the teacher give him a bad grade and he decided to take it out on everybody? I couldn't tell you. I don't think anybody is going to be able to tell you anything anytime in the near future. But he is dead.
Officers located a juvenile who they believe was responsible for this deceased in the building.
And it's just, and think about his parents, right? That they're finding out that their kid, son, did this, assuming it's a boy. He did this. And now they're thinking, oh my God, how horrific. Oh, by the way, now, was it your gun they took? Did you leave a gun out? Did you provide him with a gun? Are you now going to be arrested? Are you now going to be tried? Or did he get it somewhere else? I mean, these are all things now that it's awful. This entire thing. But this person decided the hate and anger inside of him was so horrific that he needed to take it out on the world. And that the pain that whoever did something to him caused him so much pain that they deserved to die. And it is awful that we have these things, and I know that people are going to come out and say, this is why we've got to do this, this is why we got to do that. When you do stuff like that, what do you end up doing? You punish people that are law-abiding citizens. You don't punish somebody who really wants to do something. That, like, if you are a person who's registered your gun, you've done everything right, you're a law-abiding citizen, the chances of you doing this are slim to none. Everybody knows that. The people, though, that are going to twist off in the world, that want to do something, whether they're law-abiding citizens, whether they have a gun or don't have a gun, if their goal in life is to twist off and kill, they'll do it. They will find a way. And it's sad, but it's true. I mean, we would love that that doesn't happen. We would love that somebody doesn't twist off and go and kill a bunch of people. But the fact is, somebody wants to do something like that. Somebody is determined to do that. They're going to find a way. They are. Speaking of unknowns, we switch from that to, yes, drones in the sky. What are they?
The FBI and the Department of Homeland Security are using infrared cameras and drone detection technology to make sure the drones flying over New Jersey and New York are not harmful. That's according to a law enforcement source. The federal agencies are also turning to social media and examining the photos posted there. Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas told ABC on Sunday most of the objects are manned aircrafts. The FBI and the Department of Homeland Security say there is no credible threat to the public at this time.
I don't believe anything Mayorkas said because the border is secure was a lie.
President-elect Trump has put out a post on this. He says, mystery drone sightings all over the country. Can this really be happening without our government's knowledge? I don't think so. Let the public know and now, otherwise shoot them down. Your response?
We are aware of the drone sightings. As I said, I think there are more than 8,000 drones flown every day in the United States. With respect to the ability to incapacitate those drones, we are limited in our authorities.
Why are you limited in your authorities? If they get too close to an airfield, you can bring them down. It's because you know what they are. That's why. They're not aliens. As much as some people would like to believe, Rosie O'Donnell.
Now, can we stop calling them drones? They're obviously UFOs, people. It's all over the world now. It's not just in a little thing in New Jersey. Just saw one from China today. It's all over the world. What do you think? That some country, Iran, has the capacity and the capability to monitor and fly these drones all over the world at the same time? Not trying to scare everybody, but they're here. They're here.
Who are they?
Can I nitpick something?
Please do.
The U in UFO stands for unidentified, you moron woman.
Yes.
It means we don't know what it is.
That's it.
Not that it's a drone. It means that we don't know. But she's going to stand up there in front of her camera while she makes her little post talking about how it's not a drone. You don't know what it is, Rosie. Shut up.
She doesn't know. She doesn't. She'll never know because she's the last one they would tell. They're like, and they don't even want it. Like, that's just it. Like, the aliens are like, look, we're going to take a lot of you with us. Rosie's not one of them. We're going to leave her here. We don't know what they are. What my take is, the people I've talked to, this is technology that they've developed. This is technology that they're testing out. This is technology that some people in certain bases know about. Can we penetrate our own airspace? What does this stuff look like? Some people out there think it's that they're looking for a nuclear bomb, that maybe there is one that has either been lost, like we've lost it, and somebody has gotten it. Maybe there is a dirty bomb. You're hearing all kinds of stuff. This is just me throwing it out there. I believe it's our stuff that we have partnered with, somebody at Raytheon or one of the Halliburton, one of these big things. It's a DARPA-like thing. We've got all of these amazing, incredible technology. Maybe if you want to talk about the alien, it's technology that we've gotten or technology that in the past that we haven't been able to crack and somehow we have cracked it. So it wasn't given to us. It's like, hey, try this. But we've been able to reverse engineer some of it and we're testing it out. That's it. And then a lot of the other stuff now is drones that people are flying because they want to see if they can catch these drones. Do I think that we don't have the authority to shoot them down? I think Mayorkas is an idiot.
We need from Congress additional authorities to address the drone situation. Our authorities currently are limited, and they are set to expire. We need them extended and expanded.
Okay, thank you. If it's anything like the border, which he's in charge of, they're going to come here, if these really are aliens, just as many as they want, whenever they want, however they want.
If there is any reason for concern, if we identify any foreign involvement or criminal activity, we will communicate with the American public accordingly.
No, you wouldn't. You would never do that. You're not going to till way after the fact. And if it's aliens, see, the other thing I thought of is this a test? Let's just say, for the sake of argument, aliens are real. And I'm a believer that we cannot be the only ones here. The universe is too big. We could talk about different dimensions. Maybe we'll get that in a little bit. But how do you break it to people? How do you break it to people? Because is this a test to go, okay, let's see how they react. If they're crazy, then we're going to have to slow walk it even more. But they're coming, so we can't slow walk it too much. So how does this work? And the conspiracy theories run wild. They're spectacular. I love some of these conspiracy theories. I do. I think they're fantastic. I think, the probing, they're probing us to see if they have lights on. Who's doing that? The second coming. They have lights on. Who's doing that? You'd think it'd just show up, right? Right? The angels are just showing up. They're not showing up with FAA lights. The orbs are interesting. Could we be testing certain things? Yes, all of those things are possible. But it's the unknown that gets people talking. And here's the other thing. As we're all talking about this, as we're all trying to figure this out, as everybody's trying to surmise, it's this or it's that, you know what? While this is going on over here, the other hand, like a magician, is doing something else. So what else could happen? Throwing it out there, a little conspiracy fun. Right there. Just throwing it out there. I was telling Belle earlier with the shooting in Wisconsin, as horrible as it is, do you think that somebody looked right at Alex Jones and says, don't say a thing? Don't tweet anything. Don't say a thing. Don't do anything.
Shut your mouth. You've got nothing left to lose.
Don't even acknowledge that anything happened. Don't even think about a place called Wisconsin. I know that sounds really morose, but I mean, given the circumstances, that's all I'm saying. A lot of stuff still to get to. My name's Chad Benson. Starting the 2nd of January, the party's going to get started with me, noon to 3, and the party will continue at 3 to 7 with Matt, who's taking over for the retiring, but not always retired, Brian Wilson, who is meandering into the great unknown, if you will, not running into the sunset. So get ready for that. A lot of stuff still to get to today. And, of course, yes, Matt will join us here in a little bit as well. This is Super Talk 99.7. MyPillow right now has deep discounts on the classic MyPillow. $14.88, made in the USA. You're going to get a 60-day money-back guarantee extended out through March. But on top of that, 10-year warranty. These have never been this low. So it's an opportunity if you take advantage of this. $14.88 for the classic MyPillow. Now, that includes any loft level you want. So if you want one that's just full of the patented MyFill, you've got it. If you want one that is just, maybe smaller, you've got that as well. Firm, not firm, it's up to you. They've got deep discounts on all of their stuff, including the mattress topper, the pet beds, the slippers, the sandals, the incredible sheets, the towels, you name it, they've got it. But the classic MyPillow on sale, lowest price ever, $14.88. Go to mypillow.com/Benson. That's mypillow.com/Benson. Save big on this. Classic MyPillow, $14.88. mypillow.com/Benson.
Got the very latest on the school shooting in Madison, Wisconsin. President-elect Trump's second term starts in 36 days. He held his first news conference today since the election. We'll let you hear some of that coming up at 2:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
The president-elect said he believes the government knows more than it's saying about drones.
Our military knows and our president knows.
Trump alleged they want to, quote, keep people in suspense. He vowed if RFK Jr. is confirmed as his health secretary, Americans won't lose access to the polio vaccine.
It's not going to happen.
Trump said he has a soft spot for Chinese-owned TikTok, but he didn't repeat his vow to save the app ahead of next month's deadline for a sale. When asked if he'd pardon New York City Mayor Eric Adams, who's been indicted on bribery charges,
yeah, I would certainly look at it.
Eric Adams is absolutely getting pardoned. I mean, can we all agree on that? He is so getting pardoned. That's Trump. And obviously January 6th, he said within the first 9 minutes, kind of an odd timing, 9 minutes, he's going to pardon a lot. But he says he's going to look at stuff. I do believe that some people will get clemency, and I think some will get pardoned. Two separate things. So you'll be released, but it's still going to be there. Others are going to be fully just pardoned. And I think Biden's not finished with his pardon. I think he's got a lot of pardons out there still. The whole preemptive thing is bizarre because, what are you pardoning for? There's no get out of jail, just in case. Here, get out of jail in the future. Call me if you need to. There's none of that. So, but I think Eric Adams, absolutely. And I think part of that has been the fact that he has been a big voice against the insanity of what's going on in the border. And I think that's a big deal for Trump, being that voice of reason. Last week, he met with Tom Ullman. And he has taken the same approach Trump has when all of these indictments have come in, which is fight and don't quit. I mean, if you think about how Trump, we talked earlier about how Trump has changed everything when it comes to the media. How has Trump changed everything when it comes to politics? And I'm not just talking about the way that he behaves and stuff. I'm talking about the way he fights, where 20 years ago, you're done if you get indicted. Any of these things that have happened to Trump would have happened to people 20 years ago. You're done in politics. At all. Even if there's just a whisper of it, you may resign. Not anymore. It's screw you. We're doing this. I'm fighting. It's all BS. Fake news. And he just plows forward. And more politicians are doing that. Not everybody has the same following Trump does and the same belief. But Eric Adams, most mayors would have said, no, we're done. I'm not going to do this. I can't. But not him. And more of his people are indicted. I mean, he's fighting this stuff tooth and nail. And I don't know how real any of it is. If you followed any of it, maybe it's real, maybe it's not. Again, that would be for the courts to throw out these things or eventually convict him. I have no idea. But there's no doubt that Trump has changed things in politics in a way that people don't realize. And that includes just a mention of something that people would have fought against for a little while, then eventually slowly backed out of. And nowadays, they're just I don't care. I mean, it's got to be so damning. But not everybody can do it. Like I said, not everybody can do what Trump has done. Just because you're accused of something doesn't mean you're guilty. But it also doesn't mean that even if you're not guilty, that it's not going to hurt you. Where with Trump, he just kept moving. And it was almost like every time they hit him with something, he got stronger. It's like feeding the beast. He got stronger and stronger and stronger. Some of the other things they talked about, and I want to get to some of this, is, yes, they talked a lot about RFK, obviously, and whether RFK is going to get rid of the vaccine.
I think he's going to be much less radical than you would think. I think he's got a very open mind, or I wouldn't have put him there. He's going to be very much less radical. But there are problems. I mean, we don't do as well as a lot of other nations.
No, we don't. We don't do as well.
Big believer in the polio vaccine, the Salk vaccine.
Do you think schools should mandate vaccines? Do you think schools should mandate vaccines?
I don't like mandates. I'm not a big mandate person.
I'm not a big mandate person either. Do I think there are some things, we don't need smallpox, rubella, stuff that disappeared in the 1700s. We don't need any of that crap. There are certain things you can look at, okay, but do we need so many? Can we space them out? How do we do that in a real way? Can we have a group of 6, 8, or 10 that are powerful that can work rather than, hey, 50 by the time you're 3 days old kind of stuff? That's a little exaggeration. They're having fun with it. But I'm just saying, can we have a bit of common sense come into this and a closer look at this, which I think we should. Why are kids getting so much? Is autism tied in? Have we done real big studies? Or are the people that are giving you these doing the ones that are doing the studying? Because as we know, when they're the ones who are looking at themselves, they don't always do it the best, if that makes sense. My name's Chad Benson. I'm in for Matt Murphy. Murph will be here in a little bit. He just walked by. He's here from 3 to 7 and starting the 2nd of January. You have me, noon to 3, Matt, 3 to 7. So get ready for a ride of rides, kids. That's all I can say. It is Super Talk 99.7.
.2:30 on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Right now we have construction in Rutherford County. The right lane closed. I-24 westbound right before Church Street. Full forecast coming up in 5 minutes. 3 dead, including the shooter, who was a student at a private Christian school in Madison, Wisconsin this morning. Here's Aaron Koturski with the ongoing developments.
As soon as police in Wisconsin entered the school, they were able to see the juvenile shooter was dead inside the building. So they knew almost right away that the threat was reduced, and they did a couple of rounds of follow-on checks to clear the classrooms and some of the vehicles parked outside to make sure there was no follow-on threat.
Yeah, it happened at the Abundant Life Christian School. Its website calling itself non-denominational with about 390 students from K through high school. President-elect Trump's second term starts 36 days from today. He held his first news conference today since the election and was asked about those mystery drones.
The government knows what is happening. Look, our military knows where they took off from. If it's a garage, they can go right into that garage. They know where it came from and where it went. And for some reason, they don't want to comment.
Trump himself said no comment when asked if he had received an intelligence briefing on it. Just 9 days before Christmas and Hanukkah, Amazon facing a possible strike at 2 New York warehouses. The tech and retail giant wrangling with the Teamsters Union over wages and working conditions for more than 5,000 workers.
Amazon operates hundreds of warehouses across the U.S., so even if a strike at 2 of these facilities starts in the coming days, it could have a limited impact nationwide on the shipment of holiday gifts, especially if they're already out on the truck for delivery. So bottom line, Amazon packages should still arrive on time, but for all of the last-minute shoppers out there, still want to keep an eye on your tracking information.
Yeah, the union says it gave Amazon a deadline of December 15th to come to the bargaining table over new contract terms. Amazon telling ABC News the Teamsters have been misleading the public. That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Bulwark Capital. Hey, you get one chance in life at that retirement. Make it right for you. And Bulwark can help you with that. They would love to give you a risk review. So let's say you're working with somebody and you're not really thrilled. You don't even know what's going on. It's a cookie cutter kind of thing. You call 866-779-RISK. Say Chad sent you. And they're going to give you a risk review. They'll go through your portfolio inch by inch, thing by thing, and talk to you about what's happening in there. Are you not risking enough, if you will? Not in a position where you're really looking for some returns that will help you to get to where you want to go when it comes to your retirement? Are you in a position where you are risking way too much? You've got no protection to the downside, and where you want to go, if this thing goes sideways, you could be in trouble. Risk management, number one strategy by Bulwark. Low risk, lower cost, lower volatility. Why don't you give them a call today? Get that second opinion, that free risk review, 866-779-RISK. That's 866-779-RISK. Or go to knowyourriskradio.com, KNOWyourriskradio.com. Investment advisory services offered through Trek Financial LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. Investments involve risk, not a guarantee. Past performance not guarantee of future results. Trek 24378. What's in the Sky? Did you ever see that movie, Fire in the Sky? It's a great movie. It's a true story. Travis Walton, Snowflake, Arizona, played by D.B. Sweeney in that movie. So he and several others, I think it was 5 of them total, were out logging in Snowflake. It's in the mountains. And they saw what they thought was a burning area. Like there was a giant, huge fire. And as they were kind of racing to get out, they noticed it was moving. And then they saw it was a spaceship. And Travis got out and disappeared for 5 days. It's the most well-documented case of all time. They've taken numerous lie detector tests. They've all passed over and over again. In fact, for 4 or 5 days, those guys were essentially, they thought that they were murderers and they killed Travis and that they had done something with his body. And then out of nowhere, he turns up somewhere. But in the trailer of it, it starts like, how does it breathe? What does it do? It's awesome. And that's what these drones are, right? Like that has to be it. They have to be aliens, or they're not, because they have FAA lights on them.
I don't know, any adversary that would actually use proper FAA lighting to display where they are, it would be way too easy to shoot them down. They're slow moving, they're big. So I definitely take adversary off the table right away.
Yeah, slow moving and big is probably not what the adversary wants because we can spot them. So if we really thought that this was an invasion and we really thought that this was something, don't you think we'd have shot him down by now? And I'm not talking about the people in the backyard because I don't know how many of them I've seen on TikTok, on all of the things that are out there available for you to watch, where people are in their backyard shooting at these things. And apparently nobody's good at shooting. Have you noticed that? Like nobody's hit one where it's fallen to the sky. And if it is, it's probably your neighbor who's got one up there and you guys think you're having fun.
Maybe they're trying to test them and try to stay under the radar by actually doing it properly according to the law. But when we do all of our mission tests, we do them at nighttime. Almost all missions by the U.S. military at nighttime, and we try to make it so you can't find us, can't see us, can't detect us. So there's a lot of controversy on why they would an adversary would actually be doing it the way they're doing it.
They're not. So I think there's more war game-ish testing it out. Now, does it explain all the ones you see everywhere? No, but it's like I don't want to say it's mass hysteria. But now everything in the sky is a drone. And that's not true. Look, would I like it to be aliens? Well, if my choice is aliens or adversary, I would rather it be aliens. Because if we're going to the adversary's got that kind of stuff where they could get around our radar super easily and get to our stuff, then we're kind of screwed. So let's roll the dice and find out if maybe the aliens are better. Could there be alien technology? That's the thing that I'm curious about, because some of this stuff that they have doesn't produce heat, doesn't produce noise, and that is very interesting. And even when they send stuff up that's next to it, they're getting no heat, they're getting no sound. So that to me I find rather interesting, more so than whether or not it's aliens at this point. And it's the second coming. Again, I've heard it all over the last couple of days, as have many of you who are chiming in as well. But that guy right there, Jeffrey Thompson, this is what he does for a living, and he works with the government, and he's trying to tell people, calm down. Speaking of calming down, it's going to be a while in Madison, Wisconsin. So the sheriff, Sean Barnes, is giving a update right now in Madison, Wisconsin, of a shooting today. And it was, again, we don't know everything, the details like anything else. You've seen, the details of how these shootings at school come out. They're slow. It's drip. Even, here with what happened here or, and several other shootings that have taken place, the stuff that comes out at times is very slow and sometimes not at all the way that we would think. Obviously, what happened here in Nashville. That being said, so far I think we have 3 dead, a student, a teacher, and the shooter who committed suicide. He's a juvenile. And the question is always why. We don't know why. We don't know why he did what he did. We have no idea. But think about all those kids now whose lives have been forever changed, whose lives are, they went to school today, smile on their face, happy as can be, thinking about what was coming. Christmas, right? For many of them, this may be the final week of school before their Christmas break. How excited are they? Same thing with the teachers. And now you have somebody who comes in and kills. For what reason? We'll find out. And I'm sure and here's the other thing. We're going to find out, and then the speculation is going to begin. And was there this or was there that? And it's a horrible thing, but that's the reality of the world. And then you get the likes of David Hogg.
After Parkland, many people said to us, this is a Republican state. It's terrible what happened to you young people at your high school, but this is never going to change here. But we did. We raised the age to buy a gun to 21 in Florida, and we passed a red flag law that can disarm people that are a risk to themselves or others that has been used over 19,000 times.
I'm going to say something, and it's going to sound totally obnoxious, but that kid has made a life for himself off that tragedy. Am I right or am I right? Like, quietly, he wouldn't admit it, and wouldn't. And I would like to think, if given the opportunity to go back, he would change everything. But he ran with that more than anybody else I've ever seen. It turned himself into he became a mini star. And he continues to. I mean, he's the go-to. He's running right now, I think, to be the vice chair of the DNC. That doesn't happen without Parkland. It doesn't. And I would like to think, if given the opportunity to not be celebrity because your friends got shot, you would say, oh my God, no, I would never want that to happen. But if he was quiet in a quiet moment, is it like the best personal thing to ever happen to him? That he survived a shooting and got on TV 24/7? Yeah, I think he would say that. And that's a horrible thing to even think, because like I said, I would like to think David Hogg, wouldn't want anything to happen to his friends. But he was looking for it. There's no doubt. And we're going to have this conversation now over the next couple days of gun control. When they talk gun control, what are the guns do they talk about? They talk about the mean gun that's big, the evil one. The AR-15, the scary one. That's what they're going to talk about. This wasn't used. It was 9mm. It was a handgun. They're not talking about that. How did this kid get? Well, he's obviously still in high school or junior high. How he got it, I don't know. Was it his parents? Couldn't tell you. But he got it. And as we talked about earlier, if you are dead set on getting something done, you want to kill somebody, you want to go after them, if that is your goal and you have that kind of hate and desire and you have the wherewithal, not if you're, we're talking about somebody who's got the wherewithal and understanding of how to do something. Not somebody who is, and I don't mean crazy, but just incapable of doing it. Like a 4-year-old said something like that. But if you really have that desire and that want, it is tough for somebody to stop them. If that was their desire. If it was. I don't know. Again, I have no idea why this person did what he did. Several of you have chimed in about the UFOs. Saying, FAA lights. That's my big thing with this. Everybody's got FAA lights. Outside of a few, there's been FAA lights. Not all of them, but a vast majority of them. And I wouldn't think that the aliens would put FAA lights on them because they're worried about whether or not they're breaching an airspace and something would happen. I would assume that they're a little bit more coy than that. Several of you agree with me with David Hogg. Again, I don't want to think the worst of the guy. I don't. I mean, I'm not a fan of his politics, but, you wanted to be that way. And so you got into the world of politics and you got in the world of being able to come out and talk about all this stuff. And you survived something and it was a horrible situation and a horrible act of depravity and just it was awful at Parkland. But you took the opportunity to hunt out the cameras, to get in front of anything and everybody you possibly could. And there's no doubt that you've taken that and you've run with it. I'm not trying to be mean. Tell me you haven't. Explain to me you haven't taken advantage of a horrible situation. Because there are many other kids who survived and they haven't, but you did. Because I think in many ways you sought it out. You sought the opportunity out and you ran with it. And it's horrible that but sometimes people take bad situations. I mean, look at Walsh, right? And his kid gets kidnapped and killed, and he's gone on and turned that into so many different things throughout his TV career. Became a TV, he took a bad situation and made it something. But I don't think he sought it out the way that some people do. In today's me world, there's no doubt that people, seek it out. And I think he did. I think he absolutely 100% did. A lot of stuff still to get to because I'm going to ask Matt some questions. Because earlier we were talking about the UFOs and stuff, the dimensions. Because are we in a different dimension? Is there another timeline that is similar to ours? But it's different. A little bit different here, a little bit different there. Because a new computer called Willow last week cracked something that is crazy. That would have took a normal supercomputer. Now, think about a supercomputer. A supercomputer do things that your little computer, my little computer, could never even dream of. It would have took this normal supercomputer. Septillions. Those are like million, billion, trillions. We're talking about 24 zeros. It would have taken it, I think, 10 septillion years, stuff we can't even fathom, to crack something that this thing cracked in 5 minutes. And inside of there, and what they're looking is, this thing thinks that there are dimensions, different planes. And I'm not talking about flying planes. I'm talking about, think of the Marvels, right? Is there some different dimensions? Are we simulations? Are we, and it's very interesting. I'm talking to Matt about that as I wrap up the show. And remember, starting the 2nd of January, it is full bore Chad Benson Show, noon to 3, Matt 3 to 7. So be prepared for who knows what in the afternoon. I will promise you it will be fun, because otherwise you get your money back. The beauty is you're not paying any money for this, so you don't have to worry about that. Follow along across all my social media. I'd love to hear from you. At Chad Benson Show is your Instagram and your Twitter. We've got Chad Benson Show TV on the YouTube as well. Like and subscribe. We love it when you do that. So much stuff still to squeeze in, and we'll try to squeeze in what we can. But let's talk about dimensions with Matt Murphy. We'll ask him about his meat as well, because he got some meat earlier today. It's the Chad Benson Show, Super Talk 997. Oh, look at that. Oh, it's closing time, kids. Matt in here for Brian. Myself, Chad, in for Matt, which is weird, but that's all changing very soon. Pretty pumped about it. Tomorrow's your last midday show, right?
We just established that.
Like
tomorrow's my... Bell, what are we going to do with one another?
Do I know you?
I'm dead to him.
You're dead to him.
That's okay.
So
he's not dead to me.
No.
I still love him. So we'll have a little fun with that, but we'll have some fun on the drive prior to that. I mean, we'll have some fun, and then we'll have to get into some real news regarding this Wisconsin shooting. Obviously, that's on everyone's mind, so we'll try to update everybody on that.
You know what I said? I was saying, David Hogg the limelight. I don't think he would ever wish death on any of his friends or stuff, but have you seen somebody who is who just... I think he took advantage of an opportunity and he ran with it. I think he likes the fame and he likes the all the stuff that comes with it.
Phil had a very apropos nickname for him, which was Camera Hog.
Yeah.
Well, and if he was not such an obvious shill for the anti-gun left, if he was willing to come to a table with a difference of opinion and talk to somebody like yourself or someone like me.
Absolutely.
And have a reasonable discussion about the best way to find solutions but if you bring up any other issue other than
guns,
banning gun, which, they can talk about long guns or quote unquote assault weapons all they want, but ultimately they want to ban guns. Yeah. They want to ban all the guns because once they ban the assault weapons and the murders still happen, then they're going to move on to the handguns.
That's it, which is the thing they promised they weren't going to do. What was done today was 9mm. Again, a kid. How did he get a hold of it? It's not legal for him to own. How did he get a hold of it? I mean, if somebody wants to kill somebody, you know this, and they've got the wherewithal to do it, they'll figure out a way.
Well, liberals don't look at guns as a positive influence in society, and that's the disconnect. If I said to you, well, we're not going to eliminate riding around in automobiles because someone used an automobile to kill someone, they would say, well, yeah, but automobiles have a positive purpose.
Yes.
They do not recognize that guns have a positive purpose.
They don't. They have no recognition
and that's part of the big disconnect that we have when we're discussing the issue, nor do they recognize that a country where the individuals within that country that are supposedly electing their own representatives to represent their own values, when they no longer have guns, the government naturally grows its centralized power as a result of the people not being able to fight back.
That's it. Again, I tell everybody, freedom of speech is number one. And number two, if number one doesn't work, see number two has always been the most important thing. And that's because you have to be able to stand up to a government that may be overbearing. And every place you see stuff go sideways, it's because government is the end all to be all with no challenge.
By the way, I heard you this morning with Mr. Hand talking about, and I like calling him Mr. Hand because it reminds me of Fast Times at Ridgemont High. If I'm here and if you're here, aren't we? Anyway, so about simulation theory. I'm a big fan of simulation theory. I don't know that I am a believer of simulation theory yet, but I'm a big fan of simulation.
Well, the whole Willow chip, and you need to check it out. What it did was proved out a math problem that would have taken septillion years for a supercomputer, which is better than any of our computers. And in it kind of basically was proven out the fact that, there are other dimensions, there are other planes. There is you and I are having a conversation somewhere else in another dimension kind of thing. And these are all simulations. Now, who's controlling the simulations? That may be something completely different. Is it God? Is it other beings? Whatever it is. But that there are other dimensions and that this is just one of God knows how many dimensions.
Well, and it fits. A lot of people get sideways with simulation theory because of the absence of a core religious faith-based belief. But I think it fits within faith-based beliefs if you do what you just did.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, who's to say that we don't have a misunderstanding? We don't have an understanding of God. I mean, we're not supposed to.
No, not in a real way. We may believe, but we don't understand. We can't even fathom what that's all about.
Right. So who's to say that we don't have the ability to fathom some of these things that are going on before our very eyes? I don't know. It's interesting to me.
I've always thought, it's like I look at something like my kids will play The Sims or something, and they'll play Minecraft. I'm like, is that just basically what somebody's doing with us.
Is The Sims a dated reference? I asked
No,
myself
I don't
that question
think so.
driving in my truck, going to get meat while I was listening to you. I was like, is that a dated reference?
I don't
Because
think
I used
so.
to play Sims in college.
My kids play The Sims. They love it. They play The Sims. It's still a thing.
Okay, so
But,
it's still
you know,
out there.
It's
still
not.
going.
It's not Fortnite. But again, is that a Fortnite? Is that kind of a situation too? Is our past lives just us trading our skins like we would in Fortnite to get? I mean, I have no idea. But it's definitely worth something talking about when you've got computer power this strong. The other thing I thought about this is, how did we go from a supercomputer that can't do something for a gazillion years to all of a sudden we've got a chip that can do something in 5 minutes?
I got to research this chip.
You
That's
should.
incredible.
It's called the Willow chip.
The Willow chip.
The Willow chip.
I'm gonna do some
Tomorrow,
research
his
on that.
last midday show.
That's right.
Then Wednesday, I'm in. And then the real party begins on the 2nd of January in the year of the Lord 2025.
We're going to have some fun this afternoon, my friend.
What are you
We're going to talk. We're going to slam on George Stephanopoulos for the better part of 4 hours.
Oh, that's right. 'cause
That's
he
easy
had to pay
grab.
some money.
That's an easy grab, yeah.
Some of his own.
CNN Yeah, and the rest of the media is grumpy about it because we can't lie anymore and get away with it? They're grumpy about that. Obviously, we're going to update Wisconsin as well. And where's Joe Biden?
I don't know. Sleeping Joe.
Yeah.
Kids, Sleeping Joe. I'm Chad Benson, in for Matt. Matt's in. Matt is in for Brian Fred Ed. Super Talk 997.